Hello and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's green. In today's video, we are going to be taking a deep dive look into Ethereum, the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, as well as looking at the history of the alt season chart, the alt season index, and seeing if we can draw any parallels for what's happening now compared to what's happened in the past, and if that can give us some insight as to when we may see alt season. As a lot of you may or may not know, Bitcoin dominance, that is the percent of money that's in crypto that is in Bitcoin, when that number rotates down, when that percentage rotates down into altcoins, into Ethereum, that is when we have alt season, and there is no bigger altcoin than that of Ethereum, and it's the number 2 crypto, and it is at $373 billion today. So for any new investors out there, if you're looking to get into crypto, and I would not be buying right now because I would never buy at a all-time high or a new yearly high. If you were to put in $10,000 in Ethereum today and you want to double your money, you would be expecting Ethereum to be worth 6,200, or triple your money. You'd be expecting Ethereum to be worth 9,300. That would also mean the market cap would triple and it would be worth over $1 trillion. So I see a lot of videos out there on YouTube of people making quite ridiculous price predictions for Ethereum. You do always want to factor in what market cap is and just have that in the back of your head. It can't be some magical number or whatever you want it to be. So do educate yourself on market cap. All because the price of something looks low, like Doge, you can see it's at 38 cents. It still has a market cap of $56 billion. So that does not mean it's cheaper than, say, something like XRP. You can see XRP, yes, it is 89 cents. It is not, you can see that number is higher than Doge at 38 cents. So you're wondering, okay, why is 89 cents under Doge, which is 38? Again, you're looking at market cap. So the price will be different for these different assets. It's not a one-to-one correlation on price. Please, if you're new, make sure you learn that. I'm still shocked by how many people don't learn that, and they make crazy price predictions based off that. Anyways, let's get into fear and greed quick before we get into Ethereum. You can see we're still way up into extreme greed, so do be extremely cautious. In the last year, this is the second highest that crypto has been into greed. So you can see it peaked in early March when Bitcoin was making, at the time, its new all-time high at around 74K. Now Bitcoin has been at 90K, give or take. So that is why we're obviously very high into greed. If we zoom out, there's a couple ways to look at greed. We can either have these spikes, which are pretty one-to-one correlated with where the price is, or we can have this accumulation, if you will. And this was the time when Bitcoin was making new all-time highs and getting above those all-time highs. It stayed up into greed. Now, the true top did not come until somewhere in here, March, April. There was that secondary top in November, of course, that was a little higher. But alt season was here. So if we see greed stay up here for weeks and weeks and weeks, then maybe we're going to get a push into a much higher area. I'm looking for Bitcoin to get to 100K and then to see what happens, or 102K technically. I wanted to take a closer look at a couple things with Ethereum today. One specifically being this alt season chart. You can find this on blockchaincenter.net. They're also the website that has the rainbow chart that I go over every week. Not sponsored, but shout out to them. Great stuff. But I wanted to take a look at when we had these alt season spikes back here. You can see there were 3 alt season spikes. I will say the true alt season, when Bitcoin dominance tanked, that was right here. It was this March, April, May pump into here. Yes, there were altcoins going up at these other points, and I don't know how many of these spikes we are going to get this time around. We may only get 1 large spike. We may get 4. I don't know. But I wanted to take a look at the dates and see Is there any indication on when one of these spikes may happen? You can see here, most recently, after this downtrend was finished for alt season, we have been in this uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. You can see here that it's a higher low for alts, so maybe there could be a small rotation happening sometime soon into alts. We will see. So before we jump into Ethereum, you may ask yourself, why am I looking for that 102K number? That is the 1618 Fibonacci extension. I try to take a look at indicators that anyone can easily use and understand the fib retracement. If you draw from the high to the low and take that fib off log, you can see where the extension price targets are, and 102K is where that 1618 is. You also have the double top trend line going up to that area as well. So we are really close to that, and it depends when we would get there. But anywhere in the high 90Ks to 102K, I think could potentially be a local top. All right, so let's get into Ethereum. Let's just look at the current price action as far as what it's doing. We can get into some predictions. Then we're going to take a look at the ETH Bitcoin pairing. We're going to take a look at the time as far as when in the cycle did we get those alt season spikes? When did we get the top of Bitcoin dominance? When did this start going up? We're going to be comparing all that and seeing if there's any comparability to today. But as far as where Ethereum is right now, obviously doing very well. It's above 3,000. You can see though that it's still a lower high from this March high. Okay, so still lower high. And if we were to draw a trend line out just from where the peaks of those wicks are right here, maybe Ethereum could run into somewhere like in the mid to higher 3,000s if we got to move up there. Now, what I'm looking for Ethereum is, what is it going to do at the 786? Is it going to fake out like it had before, or is it going to make this 786 Fibonacci extension into support? If I had to guess, we could see it get a little higher and then probably come back down. So if Ethereum, we've talked about this lower trend line, we're saying anytime it's there, ain't a bad area to dollar cost average in. It also likes the 618 fib at around 2,500. It likes this trend line, and it might hit this trend line later on at like 2,600, probably not the worst area. And also anywhere near the 200-week moving average, that is good deep value. So as soon as Ethereum comes down, if it gets to the 50-week moving average or lower, wherever that may be, I'd say that isn't the worst dollar cost average areas, but I'd be taking a look at adding in more at those higher discounted levels. So again, we can take a look at trend lines, we can take a look at the moving averages, the fibs. Those are all great ways to look at times the dollar cost average. You can even add on a buy signal, and I like taking a look at this on the weekly time frame, which you can get when you click the 5-year. You see it says 5 years and 1 week intervals, but do be mindful. A lot of people don't understand this. When you click the 1 year, this goes to a daily time frame. That's why those moving averages have changed, because now we're taking a look at the 200-day moving average, whereas the 200-week moving average is down here. Okay, let's take a look at some possible price predictions for Ethereum. So we're going to take our fib, take it off log scale. We're going to zoom down and take a look at these price targets. And we're going to reverse calculate this. I'm going to pull out my phone calculator, so you're going to have to trust me, bro, on this. But you can test it out yourself if you want. But this is how we calculate market cap and where Ethereum could go. So lucky for us, it has market cap right down here at 382 billion, and that's the current price. So let's say Ethereum gets to the 1618 at $7,314. You take that $7,314, you divide it by the price today, $3,178. That is a 2.3x. So if you bought right now and Ethereum hit this fib extension, you would multiply your money by 2.3. That would also mean the market cap right here, $382 billion, would multiply times 2.3. So Ethereum at that point would be worth $879 billion. Okay, great. That seems reasonable, believable. Let's take a look at this 2618 extension at 11,000 $293. And again, it won't hit exactly there. When you draw Fibonacci retracements on a weekly scale, I'm probably off by a few hundred or so on the top and the bottom. So do keep that in mind. Let's take this number, 11,293, divided by the current price. That's 31.77. And that is a multiple of 3.5. So if you invested $1,000 and it got up to this extension, you would 3.5x your money, and you would get up to $3,500, okay? Well, we also have to multiply that times the market cap, again, times 382. Ethereum would have a market cap of 1.358 trillion. So again, let's just say $1.3 trillion if Ethereum got up to here. I think that is a fair price target. There are some of the top stocks in the world. These ones are worth 3 trillion and some change. I've talked about how if Bitcoin hits its 2618 extension at 155K, Bitcoin would have over a $3 trillion market cap at 155K. I think that makes sense because it'll line up with the top stocks in the world. When you go to your Metas, Amazons, Googles, those are between 1 to 2-ish trillion. And so Ethereum being worth 1.3 trillion at the peak, I could see it. So in my opinion, the most bullish target for Ethereum would be somewhere around here. Now you may be wondering about some of those higher price targets, and I'll just explain this to you real quick. We're not going to go back in time and do all these. But when you take a look at the Fib extensions from the past, each cycle has had further weakness than the one before. Okay, so each of these times, if we just go from the initial peak to the next bottom, you can see the Fib, it's way up here, it's off the charts, okay? This time around, or last time around, from the 2017 top to the 2018, 2020 bottom, the Ethereum got somewhere around the 3618, okay? The 3618 was probably pretty close to where Ethereum got. I'm covering up that number. So here I have it at 4,800. Okay, the 3618, pretty close. So each cycle so far, crypto, as far as Bitcoin, Ethereum, they hit a lower high on these Fibonacci retracements. You can see this reflected in the Bitcoin rainbow chart. This is logarithmic regression. Log goes by scales of 10. Regression means it goes out to the side more than it went up initially. So if you ever took a look at the COVID data charts, you also saw logarithmic regressions. There's a lot of people getting COVID, and then it leveled out. It still can go up by a lot when you zoom in, but you're not going to see a 50 or 500x like you did initially back here. So that being said, I would not expect Ethereum to hit the 3618. I would be taking a look lower at the 2618 or 1618 as its possibilities. So again, at its highest, I think it's fair to say, should the similar phenomena happen, logarithmic regression, this would be my absolute all-time high area where it, for me personally, not financial advice for you, because if it goes higher, I'm not responsible. You're going to place your own bets, put your money where your mouth is, and scared money don't make money, as as they say. So anywhere in here, I think would be great profit-taking area. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at as far as Ethereum forming a top. All right, great. Let's move this Fib back on. Let's move it back on log scale because we're still in between the current prices. All right, let's go to Bitcoin dominance and then Ethereum / Bitcoin pairing. Something we've talked about on this channel is, when is Bitcoin dominance going to peak? Now, I've long said that I think 62%, somewhere around there, would be the top. It's possible. There's been other people to point out that if you draw a Fib, that maybe we get somewhere around the 786 at 64%. Okay, cool, whatever. Being right or wrong in predictions doesn't mean a lot. Making money, having a good strategy means way more. So do know, because I'm saying these things, you have to be okay being wrong. If you, I assume, I'm pretty sure all of you are retail investors, which means Wall Street looks at us as exit liquidity and dumb money. That's why we have to be patient, do our research, because we are already fighting a losing game. And what you want to happen usually isn't going to happen. So do have a strategy to mitigate risk, and that can work out regardless of whatever you think or hope is going to happen, right? Let's go over to when Bitcoin dominance peaked last time. We've talked about this a lot recently. It first peaked in September 2019. You see that date at the bottom. Why is September 2019 important? Well, if we go to ETH Bitcoin pairing, you'll notice ETH Bitcoin bottomed along with the Bitcoin dominance top, September 2019. All right. Something to note, and I have on the moving averages, the indicator I'm using is the EMA 20, 50, 100, 200. Here are the 20-week moving averages. I have on a couple indicators. My buy-sell signal one has a 20 indicator. I think one's EMA, one's SMA. But what you'll notice is once the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing got above the 20-week moving averages, that's when it turned bullish. So that's what I'm looking for. Right now, Ethereum's still far underneath that. It could spike up, but once it makes these red lines, the 20-week moving average, if it's anything like last time, I'll say, okay, we're done bottoming. Now we're bullish. Until then, until that time, Bitcoin dominance is still going up. Ethereum Bitcoin pairing is still going down. That means, to me, the way I am interpreting this, is that there could still be a decent amount of time left in this cycle, that maybe we're just getting one of these pumps back similar to 2019, albeit a lot bigger, okay? And that maybe the true pump, somewhere to 150K, maybe even 200K, who knows, is coming later on next year or even early 2026, okay? I don't know, but again, I'm just focused on my strategy and what I'm looking for in the market. So what I wanted to take a look at today was, all right, when Ethereum Bitcoin bottomed September 2019, when Bitcoin dominance peaked September 2019, where was that for Ethereum and the alt season index? Okay, and again, the alt season index is this guy right here. So September 2019 was here. Okay, still pretty low. It was another low. We got one last spike and a little bit of a pullback, and then boom, off we went. So from the time that alt season truly started, which was let's say middle of the year of 2020, okay, it was about a year later. So we're looking September 2019 to June of 2020. Let's take a look where those dates are. Where is September 2019? Well, it's right here. Anything going on right here? Well, Ethereum was going up, and then it broke that downtrend, or it broke that uptrend, sorry. It got underneath that trend line support, and it started to go under. That was September 2019. That's when Bitcoin dominance peaked, and that's when Ethereum Bitcoin finally formed its last bottom, right? Where is June of 2020? June 2020, well, you can see right here. This is the last area of the floor before Ethereum started going up to what would eventually be its all-time highs. First at around 4,000, 4,300, and then lastly 4,800. Did that in November. This was the true alt season in here when Bitcoin dominance tanked. I'll show you that right here. Bitcoin dominance tanked April, May 2021. Okay, it was very risky to stay in the market. And if something similar happens, like if I were investing in Ethereum and Bitcoin dominance is tanking to the low 40%, I am fine taking profits here at 4,000 instead of waiting and hoping that maybe I get another 10%. Okay, I don't need that 10% when it can fall off so dang quick. You can see like quickly just down to 2,800. You rather sell into those pumps when Bitcoin dominance is tanking. So again, Ethereum Bitcoin bottomed here. This is where Bitcoin dominance peaked, when we broke that uptrend and started going down. June of 2020 in the alt season chart, when it started to really flip positive, was here. Okay, now let's even take another look at this. When was its last bottom? December 2020, see that date? I know December 2020 because that was when Bitcoin was finally breaking above its 2017 all-time high. December 2020, we'll try to show this on the rainbow chart, somewhere in here. Okay, that's when Bitcoin was breaking above this 2017 peak right here, and that was the final leg of the bull run, at least for the next 4 months. So December 2020, where was that? Okay, right here. All right, so Ethereum is at around 656 bucks. Can you imagine? I could have had some Ethereum at that price. I remember thinking it's too expensive then. So take a lesson from me on that. You know, sometimes we see these numbers, like, it's too much. And then we go back and we're like, well, damn. So this was December 2020, and that's when we truly got mega bullish. Any comparabilities to today? Well, Bitcoin dominance looks like it still needs a top. Ethereum Bitcoin looks like it still needs a bottom. Are we in any sort of an uptrend? Well, we are. We're in this massive uptrend right here. So I wonder, I'm just drawing a one-to-one comparison here. I wonder if, like last time, Ethereum is going to break an uptrend like it had before and get under. Now, how far did Ethereum get under that uptrend? You can see here, this is the COVID sell-off. I'm not going to factor in that area, but if you take a look from the peak to around this bottom, okay, it fell 64% from the top. What would a 64% from the top look like? And we're going to go from the March top right here, 64%, give or take. All right, so it would put us somewhere between this 382 and the 236 fibs, right in there. If Ethereum fell to the 382, let's just say it's a little bit less. That would mean Ethereum could be at 1,600 or 1,700 bucks if it broke under this uptrend. I know it seems crazy right now, but we do have this wedge formation forming. Lower highs, higher lows. When things get coiled up in these wedge formations here, and heck, we can even try to draw it from where it is right now. When things get coiled up, there's usually a big move one way or the other. And I'm not saying it has to go down, but if we're just taking a look at what happened last time, when Ethereum Bitcoin truly bottomed and when Bitcoin dominance truly peaked, we haven't had that yet. And if we are going to break under this uptrend, we may be able to see something similar and be patient and wait for $2,100 Ethereum, $1,700 Ethereum. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Each cycle is different. One way I'll prove that to you is that you can see, just look at the moving averages, if you will, right now. Bitcoin, after its mid-cycle top, only came down to the 50-week moving average, okay? That's this cycle. Last cycle, the deepest value it got down to was this 100-week moving average. And with COVID, which again, I'm going to exclude for sakes that it was a black swan event, no guarantees that's going to happen again, but it did get down to the 200. Okay, so Bitcoin did get down to a lower moving average. Okay, great. What about 2016? Well, it really didn't have a mid-cycle top, so hard to say here, but you can see in the bottom, it was at that 200-week moving average, and it really never got under the 50. Okay, so each cycle's different as far as how deep a value is going to appear. So I don't want you guys, all because Ethereum, stayed under the moving averages. Okay, I don't want you to be lulled to sleep thinking, okay, the same percent move has to happen down. We have to hit the same moving averages. Again, we may only get to like 2,100 Ethereum if things were to get bearish. And one reason I'll share that we could see some bearishness, I've been talking about this. This is known as the inauguration dump. Q4 is usually always positive. But as you see here, for half a year after inauguration, on average, we can see markets go sideways or down, at least for half a year or so. So 180 days divided by 30, okay, that's 6. That would be 6 months, give or take. So let's just say 5 to 7 months, that'd be May to July, is where we could see next bottom. And that typically goes in line with what's happened before in the markets. In the summer, it can be a lower slow time sometimes. So just beware of this. I think it would fit in with the narrative that at least I'm building here. And I'm not saying this has to happen, But if it does, I think there's a lot of signs pointing that, okay, maybe by the end of this year, I've talked about this, we have the 1618 here at 102K, we have the Bitcoin double top, we have this trend line Bitcoin's been in love with, all converging up here around that high 90, 100K area, okay? But then what? Do we then go down for a while before going up again? Maybe. It all depends what Bitcoin dominance is going to do. And I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter, Reddit, saying that, well, Bitcoin dominance, once it peaks, we're just going to go straight down. That has not been what's happened before. Last cycle, it went down, formed a base. After it forms a base, it starts going up again. After that final peak is truly when we go down. That final peak, look at that date at the bottom again, December 2020. All right, cool. What about the time before? This was a different time. You can see Bitcoin dominance was very high because altcoins really weren't a thing before 2017. But after Bitcoin dominance formed a base, it still had to go up for another peak and then go down. So in my mind, I'm saying, well, why does Bitcoin dominance have to just go straight down? Could it? Sure. Will it? I'd say just by looking at the last two cycles, I'm looking at something like my horrible drawing is showing here that after we peak, whenever that is, 62, 64%, I don't care, but it's going to come down, form a base somewhere, have one final peak, and then it's go time. All right, that's what I'm personally looking for. All right, let's take a look at ETH Bitcoin again and see where the dates are for some of those that we've looked at before. Okay, so we talked about September 2019. Great. You remember how we talked about June of 2020, right before it really started to go up? Okay, where's June 2020? It's right here. So funny enough about that, what moving average is here? It's the 50-week moving average. We talked about how once Ethereum Bitcoin got above the 20-week moving averages, the red lines, it was then bullish. But once it got above the 50-week moving average, that's truly when it started taking off. Okay? And then we also talked about December 2020. That is right here. Okay? That was the final test. Well, actually, there's another one. So that was one of the last tests of the 50. March 21. Remember, we topped around late April or May. So it tested it again. Anything similar this time around? Well, we're under those moving averages. So maybe the way I would take a look at this and say is, okay, once ETH Bitcoin gets above the 20-week moving averages, we're then bullish. Once it gets above here, the 50-week moving average, then shit's about to get real and take off. Okay, so again, we're just taking a look at the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. We're taking a look at when alt season's truly going to happen. And even if you don't own Ethereum, I do think these charts are important to give some insight, at least for what's happened before, as far as when we might see that alt season. So September 2019, that was a long ways from the bottom to the top. So let's measure that out by days. How long until the top? In March, April, we'll just go April of 21, okay? Because some alts were topping in May, somewhere in April, somewhere in March, whatever. It was about 952 days. You see that right there, 952 days. So September 2019, and again, nothing says it has to take that long, but 950 days divided by 365, that's 2.5 years. Can you imagine if Ethereum Bitcoin were to top within the next couple weeks and Bitcoin dominance peaks within the next couple weeks? If we had to wait 2.5 years for the true top, that would mean we wouldn't have a 4-year cycle next year, late 2025. That would mean it wouldn't even be in 2026, that we would be seeing the true top in Q1 of 2027. Okay, that's what this shows us. All right, now going over to Bitcoin dominance. All right, here's the September 2019 number. Here's May of 2021. Okay, we can show this in a couple ways. That says 602 days. Did I do something wrong? Did I do something stupid? What did I do? You're seeing in real time. This is important. I was going to say, it's like, I was thinking quietly in my own brain. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? September 2019. Oh, I was way at. All right, my bad. I was way out here in the wrong year. My apologies. You guys just saw me have a stupid moment. All right, April 21. You see the number there, 600 days, right? 600 divided by 365. Some of you were probably watching and being like, this guy's an idiot. 600 days divided by 365, that's 1.6 years, okay? 1.6 years. We showed this on Bitcoin dominance, okay? This should line up. So why it's always good to check your work. 600 days, great, okay? Where does 600 days put us from right now? Let's say Ethereum Bitcoin is going to bottom today. Bitcoin dominance is going to top today. Where does 600 days, and again, it doesn't have to be 600, but give or take, where would that put us? That would put us in June of 2026. You see that data at the bottom, okay? Again, we're at around 600. So is the top coming quarter one, quarter two of 2026? Maybe. That's just off a time perspective. But I'm going to say this, take timing with a grain of salt. I can give you so many different timing predictions. When Bitcoin breaks its former cycle all-time high, the average to the next peak, at least cycles before, was 300 days. That puts us at the end of the year. If you take the average from the very bottom of each cycle to the peak, that's 850 days. That puts us March of next year. If you take the average from every halving, okay, every halving to the next peak, that average is 484 days. 484 days from the halving, okay, would put us right here. Sorry, I mixed these up. My brain is off today. 484 days would be here. The average from the bottom of the next peak would be here. Okay, I believe that's what it is. Let's measure that out so I'm not being stupid, which I'm clearly showing my stupidity colors. So where is 484? All right, cool. There we go. The halving, the average from the halving to the peak would be here, August 25. The average from the bottom would be around here. Okay, we're showing our work. 850 days. Okay. I went from the very, very back right there. So 850 days, yes, that'd be Q1. The point I'm trying to make, now that I've made myself look stupid twice in front of you guys, but that's all right. We all make mistakes. I don't want to act like Mr. Perfect here. The point I'm making is this. If we are going to make an argument for a time frame perspective, I can give you many different arguments. I just gave you a fourth one, that if you take the average of time from the Ethereum Bitcoin bottom and the Bitcoin dominance top, that we could see a top in Q1, Q2 of 2026. All right? So again, predictions don't mean squat. Your strategy is what matters. And what I'm looking for is Bitcoin dominance, very simply, to get to the low mid 40%, or I'm looking for my altcoin, let's say it's Ethereum, to hit its price target. And maybe my price target, I don't have Ethereum, but maybe if I did, my price target would be that 1618 number at 7,500 or the 2618, or maybe it's some round number. It doesn't have to be these fibs. It could be some round number. So set some price targets for yourself, and a percent, again, not financial advice, but this is just what I would do. Set some price targets on where you would take some profits and what percent of profits you would take, but then have a backup plan and say, well, what if my price targets don't get hit and Bitcoin dominance is tanking and I know alt season is over? Okay, there's no guarantee there's going to be another top, another spike like this, like what happened in 2021. I can show you this on the rainbow chart here. There's no guarantee we're going to get a second top that's higher. We are already making a couple new all-time highs in March and right now. Okay, that's my cat's automatic feeder in the background. So if you, and that's my voice very robotically turned, if you could hear that. But maybe, like some of these other cycles way back here, maybe we're going to get a new top, a decent sell-off, and then the true top, kind of out of nowhere. Just something to look at. I don't really see anyone talk about the 2013 cycle as far as the timing, and Bitcoin dominance only goes back so far. But if we just take a look at Bitcoin and go back to 2013, we can see from these peaks, this is when Bitcoin was making that first peak. And by the way, we have another indicator, and there's no promises this one's going to hit this time around, but that calls the highs. And let's turn that one off. Okay. What if we get something like this? I've been thinking about that. What if we get something like this, where the peaks are about 230 days apart? Okay. Something like that. And if we translate that to today, let's say Bitcoin tops around end of the year, and then 200 some days. Well, look at that. That's kind of funny. Where does that 230 day put us? The average from the halving to the next peak. That would be if that happened. If we topped at around the end of the year and had that same amount of time pass. Okay, there's another data point. I'm going to move this one over here so I don't get confusing it. Could that be something like 2013? Could we see a top later next year after the presidential pump, the inauguration dump, and then we get our top? I don't know when the top is, but do have a plan. Anyways, I've been talking long enough. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Agree? Disagree? Why? Why not? These are just some things I think about. Again, strategy and patience is more important than our predictions. It's fun to theorize. It's fun to say, well, this might happen or this might happen, right? I think that's good to a point, just to be mentally prepared, because we want to be ready for whatever scenarios happen, because every time's a little bit different, and we want to have some things to keep us grounded. Bitcoin dominance is one of those things that keeps me grounded, or the tether dominance. When the tether dominance trend line's being hit, it's always by these local tops, okay? So have some indicators and strategies to ground yourself, some price targets to look for. Okay, your strategy is more important than the prediction. But I did want to take a look at what alt season, what the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing did last time, and translate that forward. If we translate that forward, in my opinion, that means we're still in a 4-year cycle, give or take, scenario where maybe it's Q3 2025, maybe it's Q1 2026. I don't know, but that's what the prior cycle would at least lead me to believe. There isn't anything for me to believe yet that Bitcoin dominance is just going to tank and we're going to get a March top. Could a March top happen? Could alt season happen by March? Sure. But I would be looking to see Bitcoin dominance break under the 20-week moving average and break under some sort of base around here. Okay. If it breaks under these, then I'm going to be like, oh, snap, it's coming. Maybe sooner than I imagine. So anyways, that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.